This in the college admissions scandal. Lori Loughlin and her husband have just pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors say they paid $500,000 in bribes to get their daughters into USC. The charges carry up to 40 years in prison. Several of their co-defendants, including Felicity Huffman, have pleaded guilty. So, joining me now, criminal defense attorney Ambrosio Rodriguez. Ambrosio, you gotta wonder, she seems to be doubling down big time. Do you think this is a case of bad legal advice? Is she not listening to her lawyers? Does she know something we don't know?
Very wealthy people are notorious for not listening to their lawyers. And I think that I'm well aware of the reputation of her attorney. He's a very good attorney, a good legal team. She just didn't listen. I think what a lot of people don't understand that in federal law and federal criminal defense, it's not kind of that negotiating back and forth that you see on television and charges get dropped and stuff like that. What happens, once the federal government has either issued an indictment or a complaint, you're stuck with those charges. Ms. Huffman took advantage of that, and there were less charges against her last week when she pled than there are now against Ms. Loughlin. So even Ms. Loughlin wants to do the same thing to try to take advantage of what's called the safety valve and things like that. She would end up doing more time than Ms. Huffman.
Do we know what kind of defense that she may use?
I mean, the only defense in this case is one of, hey, I didn't know what Singer was doing, right? One of knowledge. I thought he was just going to help my kid get into college, whatever. But that's why, in this case, it's so different. The first person or the second person to flip and cooperate with the federal government was Singer. And Singer spent a year and a half making calls to all of his clients in order to establish what's necessary in terms of knowledge and willful cooperation. And now that evidence, those year and a half of phone calls, is being used against him. I mean, what's different about this case is that they use the top guy to go after the lower people, as opposed to usually what happens is the people at the bottom are used against the top person.
And, you know, I've read some media reports out there that Lori Loughlin is just insistent on clearing her name, and a lot of that has to do with her relationship with her daughters. Don't want that to sort of bleed into their lives as well. Do you think she has a chance of getting a not guilty verdict?
No. I think that's, I mean, I can't predict the future, but that sounds somewhat delusional. First of all, look at the jury pool, which is, we're talking about Boston, which is, it's not LA, right? Celebrities kind of get a break here in Los Angeles for some reason, but I don't think that's going to happen in Boston. And this is one of those crimes that kind of really unites people in the sense that we all feel that the sense of fair play and the meritocracy that we want to establish has been violated by her. I think she has to understand that going to court a lot of times is not about winning, it's about not losing. And if she goes to trial and she gets convicted, it's 40 years. There's no good time credit, it's very little, and it's 40 years in federal prison. I think it's a suicide mission to go to trial in this case.
Ambrosio Rodriguez, we'll find out if you're right. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ahead, this says